y'all doing? This is Nathaniel Swopes, and Swope said it. Today I want to talk about Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern University, the head football coach. Recently, he was fired from Northwestern from alleged hazing allegations. And right now I'm going to present you with an article by ABC Chicago 7, Channel 7. Northwestern Wildcats football coach Pat Fitzgerald has been fired. Northwestern president Michael Schur released a statement Monday morning saying that this afternoon I've informed head football coach Pat Fitzgerald that he was being relieved of his duties effectively. Schur had previously said he may have made a mistake in the punishment handed down to Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald was suspended for 2 weeks without pay as disturbing allegations continue to emerge about hazing within the football program. Former and current Northwestern football players have been speaking out on a wake of hazing allegations, sharing their own stories. A lot of the ex-Northwestern players say that Coach Pat Fitzgerald failed by not stopping the hazing. For those of you who know, hazing has been going on in sports for a long time, not only at the college level, but the high school level, professional level. The act of hazing is, in a sense, like a rite of passage, supposedly. And it's where you have to do certain things to gain the respect of the older players. So, like in the professional, we've seen football players where the rookies, excuse me, where the rookies have to take out the older players, like the rookie offensive lineman has to take out the older defensive lineman, and then they order a bunch of food with a bill up to $20,000 or $40,000, maybe even $50,000 to $60,000, and the rookie has to pay for the bill, pay for everybody's food. And we've seen where hazing in the NBA, where they're making rookies carry everybody's bags. But we've also seen hazing kind of go out of control, where people are being physically assaulted. As much as when we seen Anthony Davis hazed at the University of Kentucky, he didn't complain about it, but we seen players, touching his private part areas. And, even when I was in high school, older players, would physically, be aggressive with us. So, and that's in a sense an act of hazing. And then as you get older in the program, you do the same thing to the incoming freshmen. Even not even in athletics, but in general, when I went to school in the suburbs, it wasn't a thing in the city, but in the suburbs, it was a thing that the seniors were supposed to throw pennies at the freshmen when they got to school. And when we had pep rallies, like the very first pep rally, seniors would chant "Go home, freshmen." So it was like a hazing thing. And so this is something that would happen every year, where the seniors would chant "Go home, freshmen." And the crazy thing is, when I became a senior, the freshman class was bigger than the senior class. And the seniors, I didn't chant, but the seniors were chanting "Go home, freshmen." And the freshman class started saying "Go home, senior." So we've seen younger and younger new groups to where they want to put a stop to hazing, and they don't want this to happen. And hazing was such a thing and such a tradition to where we see adults be okay with with the kids hazing each other, with the teenagers hazing each other, as long as it didn't get out of hand. But things started to get out of hand where people died. Like we seen certain fraternities, like it was a movie on Netflix who described the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, where the hazing got so bad that they killed someone. But we've seen younger generations fight back at this, to where they're like, look, we don't want to be hazed anymore. It's time for it to be an end to hazing. So I'm going to continue the article. Schur said during the course of the investigation, 11 current or former Wildcat football players acknowledged the hazing has been ongoing. Even more former players confirmed the hazing was systemic, dating back many years. And like I said before, with them saying systemic, it's like a tradition. So this is something that happens. It's been happening on for years, and with Coach Fitzgerald, being a former player at Northwestern, these could have been the same hazing rituals that he went through, that he did, that he was possibly okay with if he knew about it. If he did know about it, it could have been something that he was okay with coming up and he thought was okay as a coach as long as it didn't get out of hand. And we've seen things like older offensive linemen or older players putting freshman tires on the flat. And back to, I can't think of the movie on Netflix, but it was the dean of schools. And when the young man went to the dean and tried to complain about people being hazed that was getting out of hand because he himself, the young student, had broken ribs, the dean was upset, like, hey, man, like, you just not going to walk into my fraternity easy. Like, this is a rite of passage. So that's what I mean. Some adults went through the same thing. They are upset with the new class not wanting to be hazed. So I'm going to go back to the article. According to the athletic director, the hazing included forced participation, nudity, and sexualized act of a degrading nature that clearly violated school policy, and the president said that, to his knowledge, no student was physically injured as a result of hazing. And going back to the nudity and sexualized act, again, back to Anthony Davis at the University of Kentucky, he was stripped down, pretty much naked in the locker room, and players were putting their fingers in places that they shouldn't have been putting their fingers in places. So this is something that was acceptable at many universities, and to where it was so acceptable that they filmed it. And it's not at Northwestern. I'm referring back to the incident with Anthony Davis at Kentucky. Going back to the article, the hazing was well known by many in the program, Shule said. Though he allowed there was no credible evidence that Fitzgerald himself knew, the head coach is ultimately responsible for the culture of his team. The hazing we investigated was widespread and clearly not a secret within the program, providing Fitzgerald with the opportunity to learn what was happening. Either way, the culture in Northwestern football, while incredible in some ways, was broken in others. Shule wrote in his message to the Northwestern community. Further team leadership announcements will be coming, Shule said. ABC 7 spoke with former Wildcat Raymond, who asked his last name not to be shared. Raymond was 18 when he first arrived on campus, and playing for Northwestern football team was a dream come true. I was so thrilled to be playing the big game that I love. The assignment of playing in the Big Ten for a prestigious university, he said, but he said that the dream quickly turned sour. As one of the only Latinos on the football team at the time, Raymond said he became a target of abuse by players and coaches. That shaved Cinco de Mayo in the back of my head, and then there was a specific occurrence. My position coach said, hey, I know you grew up on dirt floors, but you need to clean up around here, Raymond recalled. He said the abuse was carried out in public, usually within a position group she trained in. It always under the guise of joking or team bonding. I never felt like it was okay to be a Latino, he said. But his claims were just the tip of the iceberg. Similar to the allegation in Daily Northwestern, he claims that there was a ritual called a car wash in which players would stand naked at the entrance to showers, forcing other players to go through them. A car was having your genitals rubbing up on someone else's genitals, Raymond said, and I never felt like nobody could leave the shower with that was happening. Nobody told us we were forced to sit there, but we were also not allowed not to go through the car wash. So, again, that's an article for ABC 7 Chicago. For those of you that know Pat Fitzgerald, he's one of the greatest Northwestern football coaches in their history, taking the Northwestern to many bowl games. As far as with a rival in Illinois, pretty much owned that rivalry against Illinois, having multiple seasons, over 6 wins. He's just been doing an amazing job at Northwestern. They even brought them back when they had issues with the players were complaining about being paid and winning a lawsuit against the NCAA. He came through that and still got them to a bowl game. There were some bad seasons in there, but Pat Fitzgerald is one of the greatest coaches in Northwest history, so it's sad to see this happen. And again, like I said, we've seen hazing like this in movies. We've heard about different stories, like in the movie Drumline. Each player was supposed to cut their hair bald. All freshmen And not just freshmen, but we see where walk-on athletes get treated really bad. Freshmen and walk-on athletes was based on the things that happened to them. So I'm sorry for all the athletes that had to kind of go through a hazing incident, and even myself. You know what I'm saying? I went to a mostly white school, suburban white school, Downers Grove South, and as one of the only black players on the team, I went through a lot of hazing and things like that on the basketball team, and it could be a very tough situation to go through. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm sorry for what the students went through, and hazing should stop. You know what I'm saying? Hazing should definitely stop. You know what I'm saying? Back to what I went through at Downers Grove South. I never really talked about it to anyone. I never complained to administration, but that was my story, my incident. What happened to me? So we went over a athlete's house, and we were all, chilling and eating and having a good time. And there were only two black players on the varsity team, and that other black player, called me outside, and I was naive, you know what I'm saying, and he asked me to stand under the rim. So I stood under the rim, and all the other white players were around, and then the other white player came from out of nowhere, and he dunked on me while I was facing the other way, talking to the other black player. But when I turned and realized that player was naked, so he dunked on me. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much, you know what I'm saying? When people say they dunk on you, they putting their balls on you. You know what I'm saying? He dunked on me naked. So this is an incident I never really talked about to anyone. I never really told administration anything like that, or that player that told me to come outside, which was the only other black player on the team. My disappointed him. Now he actually came to me and apologized to the other black player on the team. You know what I'm saying? But after that incident, you know what I'm saying, I just went home. You know what I'm saying? So, it was an incident where I barely made the team as one of the only black, because they barely put black players on the team, so I didn't want to cause no issues. But, hazing has been happening for a long time, and I'm not saying it's right, it's wrong, the way players have to go through these things, and it should stop, man. Hazing should not be allowed. We shouldn't put people through these things, especially if you're a minority on I know the Northwestern team was mostly Caucasian, just like the high school team I was on was mostly Caucasian, so that definitely needs to bring a stop to hazing. Sorry to hear about Pastor Fitzgerald being released. I hope he lands on his feet, become, another assistant or get another head job. He's more likely going to get another head job. Hopefully, with the player coming out with his story, it doesn't call for him to have to leave and try to find another school. Because, like I said, some adults still accept these things. And for him to come out and tell his story, he may not be accepted by another football team. So I hope the players that came out and told their story are accepted by other football teams. And if you're going through hazing, say something, man. Say something to administration. If the coaches don't want to listen to you, because coaches will haze you too. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, going to a mostly white school, a lot of coaches said a lot of racist things to me about being black, or that I'm lazy because I'm black and things like that, or why do black people do these things, or the way I walk, the way I talk, you know what I'm saying, me being late to practice. So if you are going through hazing by players or coaches, man, say something to administration. Sports administration don't want to listen, tell the school administration. School administration don't want to listen, tell the board. You know what I'm saying? I hope you don't have to transfer. You may have to. And again, this is Swope Said signing out, and you all have a good one.